Now let's just recap some of that breaking news from this morning. Swiss police believe around 40 people have sadly died following a bar explosion precipitated by a fire, and 100 people are injured. That's on top of the 40. Many of those are thought to be seriously wounded.
The fire began at around about midnight UK time in a bar in Crans, Montana, in the Valais region, which is popular with many tourists.
Well, Swiss authorities have said that some of the victims are from other countries, but have not yet confirmed if any British citizens are among the casualties.
The local intensive care unit is also full, and victims have been transferred to nearby hospitals.
Well, during a press conference earlier today, the police said they believed a fire was responsible for the explosion rather than any sort of terror attack.
And the UK Foreign Office have commented on the incident. A spokesperson has said,
"Our thoughts are with all those injured and killed in the terrible tragedy in Crans, Montana, as we pay tribute to the Swiss emergency services who are leading the response."
Now, earlier this morning, the head of Valais Canton Police in Switzerland addressed the press. Here's what they had to say.
We've counted around 100 injured people, most of them seriously, and unfortunately several dozen individuals are presumed dead. I can't hide it from you. We're shaken by what happened last night in Caen. On behalf of the command of the Valais Cantonal Police, I extend my deepest sympathy to the victims and the families affected by this tragedy. I assure them of our support during these particularly dramatic and painful moments.
Well, that's what the police had to say, but a resident of the Swiss ski resort is very worried for a person that she knows who may have been in the blast. She's been speaking to reporters.
I learned this when I received messages from friends and family this morning, asking me if everyone in the family was doing well. At that moment, I watched the news. On the phone, I became aware of the tragedy that had taken place during the night. I know someone who may have been among the victims, who I cannot reach, and I am very worried. I'm going to try and reach out to other people who know this lady and see if she's still alive.
All right, so joining us now is GB News' national reporter, Will Godley. Will, have we got any more updates?
Well, things continuing to come through, bits of information from Crans, Montana, obviously in South Switzerland, near France and Italy, and all three authorities working together on this. Swiss authorities now over 12 hours have been working at the scene there after the first signs of disaster struck there at 1:30 this morning, when residents there in Crans, Montana saw smoke billowing out of the Constellation bar there, a bar that's been described as locals as a real popular place amongst young people in Crans, Montana, and an institution of that resort there. This, of course, is a resort incredibly popular amongst tourists, both from Italy and France and other places as well. And this, what we now believe, is a fire that started on the lower ground floor of Le Constellation bar there. This is a bar that it has capacity for about 300 people, and eyewitnesses described that there was about 200 people in the lower ground floor. And two eyewitnesses, two French women who have been speaking this morning, speaking to the French TV channel BFM, managed to escape from the bar. They were there last night, and they've described what they saw. Now, Swiss authorities haven't confirmed the source of the fire yet, but according to these two French women, they say the fire originated from birthday candles placed on champagne bottles, these particular kinds of candles that are sparkly and little sparks fly off them. And now they say that these champagne bottles were being carried by a waitress who held the bottles too near the ceiling, and that's when the ceiling set on fire, and this fire started in the basement. These two French women, Emma and Albain, said they said in a few dozen seconds the whole ceiling was on fire. Everything was made of wood, they said. They said quickly panic set in. People were screaming and running. The exit door was quite small compared to the number of people people present, someone broke a window so that people could get out. So that's Emma and Albane there, two French women at Le Constellation Bar last night. And we now know that Swiss authorities have said more than 100 people injured, many of them seriously injured with severe burns. The local hospital is full up, and many people with these severe burns have been airlifted elsewhere in the country to get specialist treatment, because obviously when you have severe burns you need a particular treatment that the local hospital simply can't offer, and so they've been airlifted there. And the entire population of Switzerland been urged not to take any risks in the coming few days, particularly on the ski slopes. Of course, Switzerland known for its skiing. People not wanting, the authorities there not wanting any extra pressure to be placed on hospitals, as many of them across the country continue to try and help these people with burns. But sadly as well, we know that 40 people did die in this fire. That's not come from the Swiss authorities, that's come from the Italian authorities, quoting the Swiss authorities. Now, the Italian authorities working with the Swiss on this, they've said at this stage they're not aware that any Italian people have been killed in this incident, but saying it will take a number of weeks to identify those who have died due to the nature of these burns, presumably taking away any kind of identifying features amongst some of those dead. The scene there this morning has all been shut off, police tape in place there, as you can see if you're watching on the scene. Now some flowers have been placed there at the scenes, and forensic officers there now setting up tents to try and piece together exactly what happened. We've not heard any more details other than what the Swiss authorities said this morning about exactly what's happened there. They're continuing their investigations to try and establish exactly what's happened. These eyewitness reports we're hearing, but nothing yet confirmed from Swiss authorities.
I'd be interested to hear what their fire prevention measures were. So whether they had sprinkler systems in the roofs, or, you know, because in a lot of places they will have sprinkler systems and all that kind of stuff, especially if the building is made out of wood. I'm wondering, I mean, the fire may have been so quick, but I'm wondering if there was anything like that. Do we know of anything about?
Well, I mean, lots of these kind of ski chalets, these bars in these ski resorts are made out of wooden beams and have these wooden structures, don't they? You would have thought they would be treated with some sort of fire prevention kind of spray to avoid any kind of fire like this, particularly in a bar where there would be these candles, alcohol, people in close proximity together.
Flammable again.
Exactly. So lots of kind of questions about how exactly this could happen. The bar is owned, we understand, by a French couple who own another bar in the same village of Crans-Montana. So they no doubt will be looking to see exactly how this happened as well, working with the authorities as they piece together what happened here. But yeah, exactly that. This tragedy is an absolute tragedy, and the atmosphere in Crans-Montana described this morning as kind of surreal, people not really knowing what to do with themselves, some people struggling to take in what happened, others trying to get in touch with friends who were in the area. And of course this bar, particularly popular with young people, many feared could be in the death toll.
OK, well, Will Godley, thanks indeed for bringing us all of those updates. Of course, we'll be back with you throughout the programme as we learn more.
Right, we can now speak with political analyst Hans-Jakob Schindler, who joins us now. Hans-Jakob, thank you very much for joining us. So, I mean, this is a very, very tragic day for the Swiss and, of course, for anybody who's involved in this tragedy. What more do we know, and in terms of how this may change the kind of political atmosphere around that place? Because everyone, you know, this is in Italian, this is a place where Italians go, Brits go. It's a very kind of international resort.
Well, Switzerland is definitely, as far as the tourism industry is concerned, one of the hubs in winter for the entire European continent, including the UK. So I don't think that has particular political implications as far as the domestic situation in Switzerland is concerned. But of course, there needs to be a thorough review of what are the regulatory security measures at these places. A ceiling fire in a confined space with few access roads is, as been shown here, usually a very deadly combination. And this is not the only bar in that resort or the only bar in Switzerland that has these kind of features. So there has to be some review. whether more precautions need to be taken for the future.
I mean, I can only imagine what it must have been like to be in that bar as the fire, in a matter of seconds, spread across the entire ceiling. As we understand it, just one entrance point, one exit point, a narrow doorway. I mean, we've all seen what happens in crushes with crowds. It's almost like the individuals involved in that lose their autonomy. You are completely buffeted against other people, all trying to squeeze, trying to get a camel through the head of a pin. And because there is that sort of individual impetus, it creates this sort of blockage. I mean, it must have been absolutely terrifying for all of those involved.
Indeed, there have been several incidents over the past few years in Germany in similar conditions where it's just one exit road and then a fire or an accident or a small explosion starts, and then a panic actually injures more people because people get crushed in that exit road. That is one of the questions that needs to be answered. How can you have a bar with obviously more than 100 people in attendance have just one single access and exit road? And then, of course, if you have a fire in a combined space, breaking a window is, of course, creating more space to flee, but also gives the fire more oxygen and therefore increases the intensity of the fire. So there are a couple of really interesting features in this accident, in this horrible accident, that really need to be reviewed and to see whether this is something that needs to be adjusted in the future.
Because it would be interesting, as I mentioned earlier, Hans, to find out whether there was a sprinkler system, whether that would have been effective, I don't know. But as you say, it seems pretty common sense to me that I would expect more exits, wider exits, and I wouldn't be passing around something that is effectively, I would say, if it's a kind of sparkler type thing, it's almost a firework. Hans-Jakob Schindler, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us.